Hello and welcome to the Kilowatt Half Hour, a podcast about the world of EVs brought to you by the team at electrifying.com.
Well, hello. Yes, do not adjust your set. It is me, James Batchelor, promoted from guest last week to host this week, proving that life moves very quickly in the world of showbiz. This week, we've learnt about a legendary badge being reimagined for the electric age, more details about the new Jaguar, and news that used electric car sales are looking very good indeed so far in 2026. Joining me is Tom and Lucas. Hello, guys. What have you been up to?
Hello, how are you, Batch? Is this show business? Would you count this as show business rather than us just arsing around in our studies? It's
Well, I'm just very excited about my job, Tom. Clearly, you're not.
Well, you're very show business, aren't you?
What have you been up to, Tom?
Well, I've been going down rabbit holes as I tend to do and looking at figures and things, because we had an email from a reader who seems to be something to do with the property market, and I'll be doing a story on this, so I'll give him a proper credit there. But it was really interesting because there are certain companies, mortgage companies, who will give you 0% finance if you're doing things like installing an electric charge point or putting solar panels on your roof, because it adds to the value of your house.
Yes.
And it also means that you make basically a profit because the amount that you pay back on your mortgage is less than you save by charging your electric car or by using solar. I thought this was really interesting, but also he says it adds to the value of your house. So you get the money back twice. So I've been doing sums and stuff. I thought that was quite interesting.
Well, it sounds awfully complicated. I mean, I'm just
Well, it does, but it's just one of those things where, fitting solar panels or fitting a charge point suddenly isn't just, oh, well, that's a nice thing to do. It actually makes proper financial sense on a spreadsheet. And I like things that make financial sense on a spreadsheet because I am tight.
There we are. You said it yourself. Didn't you? Finally. I've been telling you this for years, and now you finally admit it. Yes.
But you've probably been doing exciting things. You've probably been doing exciting things like driving cars, haven't you? But not me. No. Been doing a spreadsheet.
No, absolutely not. No. Lucas, do you understand a word of that, or is that a bit too complicated for you as well?
No, not at all, to be honest. Yeah, absolute gobbledygook as far as I'm concerned. I mean, I'll be lucky enough to be a first-time buyer one of these days, but I'd be lucky enough to have a driveway, let alone a charge point or even solar panels. Hell, a roof of my own would be nice in and of itself.
Well, less about that. What have you been up to this week then, Lucas?
Ooh, well, to be fair, it's been a while since I was last on this little podcast of ours. And at that point, I don't think I'd really driven any EVs. But since then, I've now driven officially more than 100 cars in my time in this lovely little industry of ours. And yes, I keep a list because I'm that kind of nerd. But since then, I've driven things like the JQ8, which is granted a plug-in hybrid. I also drove a Riva G Wiz. Fiat Grande Panda, which I was very fond of, but yeah, it's been a nice few months to start. That is for sure. But yeah, I mean, I'd quite like to mention the fact that the EV hot hatch space seems to be heating up quite nicely. I mean, I went and did my first long form video on the Corsa GSSE, which I'm sure we'll touch on a little bit later. And speaking of that car, actually, I'd just like to take a quick second to say thank you to Mason, who is the PR for Vauxhall and Leapmotor, crafty so-and-so that he is. About half an hour before we started recording, a little care package came in the post for me, along with a little card that said, we heard you're somewhat of a frog fanatic, so we hope this might make the leap into your collection. And that's the little friends that I've been blessed with here today. So yes, it will be joining my collection of now 11 strong frog-related items that I keep on a shelf in my bedroom. But beyond that, it's been a lovely little time since I last saw you.
It's a bribe. I think you said extra special nice things about the Corsa GSE as a result.
No, well, yeah, yes. I would like to also promise you, dear listener/viewer, that blatant bribe will not be affecting my opinions on any upcoming Vauxhall or Leapmotor products. Thank you.
I've just checked the review
also...
you wrote. The review you edited on the Leap motor, and it's suddenly a 10 out of 10 car. Is that related?
Well, it's also blatant advertising for our viewers who are watching on YouTube. There is advertising there full Leap motor, so we might be hauled into court about that. I'm not entirely sure, but I just want to clear something up, Lucas. Correct me if I'm wrong, but doesn't the G-Wiz predate you? Weren't you born after the launch of the G-Wiz?
Oh God!
I think I might have actually. That was the late 90s, wasn't it? Was it 99 to 2000? I can't remember actually.
Probably.
The one I drove was from 2006, and I'm born in 01, so read it and weep. But I've been known to drive a few classics in my time, if you could call it that.
Okay. All right. Well, even I'm starting to feel old at this moment. Goodness only knows what Tom is feeling like. Well, let's move on. Well, let's move on pretty quickly then. Tom, let's move on to the news stories then. Lucas teased a little bit there about hot hatchbacks. This week there's been news of a famous badge in the world of performance cars being electrified, hasn't there?
So the VW ID Polo GTI is back. It's been officially uncovered. There was a concept car a couple of years ago. It's a strange thing because when the ID2, wasn't it, originally, the concept car came out, I was fairly scathing about it, saying it was a bit boring. But I think it's kind of grown into itself, hasn't it? We've all got used to it.
Definitely.
And the GTI one does look nice. And it's got 226 horsepower, so that's plenty, and it's going to be good fun. And it's got that dashboard that does the retro thing and looks like a Mark 1 Golf GTI, which everybody thinks is great. And I do find myself liking it, but then I start thinking, well, okay, but is it really as exciting as some of the other things, like the Cupra Raval? Or, I think it's going to be 35 grand, and you can buy a Cupra Born for that, and it has similar power, etc., etc. So I'm not quite going to join all the people saying this is the best thing since, because I do like it, but I just want to check myself and think, well, I'm not sure it's as exciting as everybody is saying. What do you think? Are you convinced?
Well, I think they've been quite clever, because I think they're leaving room for something spicier, something like a club sport or something. And I don't think, knowing VW, this is just the first kind of step, isn't it? And I think they're probably testing the waters a little bit to see how well it goes down. But I wouldn't be surprised if there's some sort of club sport or variant of it at some point. They do have to be a bit careful because there are going to be other GTI models further down the line, so they can't have too many GTIs, can they? But I don't know. I think it's got that very classic Golf GTI look about it, which is sort of classy and upmarket. And I think you get a knowing nod of approval from people who know about cars with that car. I think.
Yeah, would you have that?
I'm inclined to agree, to be honest. There.
Yeah. Sorry, Tom. What were you saying?
What would you have, that or an Alpine A290?
It's tricky. It's tricky, isn't it? Because I love the way the Alpine looks. I love the way it drives. But again, that's a car. That's a car that, I feel as though they could do more with the Alpine. It's kind of 8/10 of the way there, isn't it? The A290. So, don't know. Lucas, what do you think?
I think, to be honest, I think I'd have an A290. Despite having, 20 horsepower less, it's still quicker off the line than either the Polo GTI or the Cupra Raval VZ. I haven't driven either the Cupra or the Polo, obviously. But having taken an A290 up Prescott Hill Climb, I can tell you that it drives phenomenally for what it is. Though you do lose quite a bit of practicality. I've just done a by the numbers article on our website of these three cars, come to mention it. But yeah, the A290 is just smaller. You don't get as much rear seat room, and you don't get anywhere near as much boot space. I think it's more than 100 litres less on that car. But I think they each have their place. I mean, performance-wise, the Cupra and the Polo are identical, as well as boot space as well. I think the Polo gets a little bit more range, but to be honest, in the real world, that's going to be about the same. But yeah, I take the Alpine personally because I don't have any kids.
Yeah, I think with the Polo, VW are really leaning into how practical that car is, which is the whole point, which is the whole point of the Golf GTI formula since 1976, isn't it? It's got very good performance, but also you can carry a washing machine in the back, can't you? So yeah, I'm very excited by it, very excited. Anyway, that's enough chat about the Polo ID Polo GTI. Lucas, there's been some news of Jaguar this week, hasn't there?
Yes. We've seen that the new Jag GT actually has a full name now, which is always nice. We've known it as the Type 00 in concept form, and then just the Jag GT is a bit of a placeholder in the meantime. But now we know it's going to be the Type 01. Which, to be fair, isn't a terrible name. Obviously, the type bit of that refers back to some of the old Jags of the past, I think E-Type, F-Type, etc., etc. But the 01 thing, I think you have to pronounce it as Type 01, because if you say Type 01, it makes it sound like a bit of a mistake. But we've actually seen that it's got a name, which is good, and we've seen it go around in all sorts of camo. Obviously, we've seen the concept quite freely and openly, but it's been camouflaged as some very interesting things. I think at one point it was spotted going around the sort of Warwickshire area disguised as a Range Rover, which is a difficult thing to do for a low-slung GT car. But hopefully, I mean, we know that some people have been out in it. I know that Vicky had a go. I know that Ginny's been up close and personal with the prototypes as well. So the sooner we can actually get it on the road, it's going to be an exciting thing indeed. I mean, we're expecting more than 1,000 horsepower and in excess of 400 miles of range. So it'll definitely be expensive, but considering where it started with the big splash it made with its controversial marketing campaign, I think it's come quite a long way since. And I'm very much looking to see what direction it takes once it properly launches and we get to see it on the road.
Yes. Yeah, I think what's quite interesting about the revelation of this name is, even though it's not massively different from the Type 00 name that the concept had, but I think I detect a feeling from Jaguar over the past kind of few months that they are trying to lean back into their heritage. They are aware of the fact that Jaguar's got 75 years of sports cars. It's and it's quite a big shift away from how, when they launched the Type 00, it was a copy of nothing, kind of. It was almost a rejection of Jaguar's heritage and moving the brand into a new era. Whereas now, as we get closer to this production car, you feel as though Jaguar is trying to inch it back to what it knows best, and how people feel familiar with the brand. So yeah, it's a bit of an interesting one, isn't it, Tom?
Yeah, I think if you look at Jaguar's heritage, that's one of the few things that they've got that separates them from the likes of Yang Wang or even Polestar, who don't have any heritage. And they might have all the technology in the world, and they might be able to, float on water or have suspension that can do bunny hops over speed bumps and things. But Jaguar will just go, well, we're above that. We've got the technology now, but we've got 75 years of heritage. And I think that does mean something, especially to consumers in Europe and probably America as well. I mean, I know the Chinese are much more willing to accept new brands and new tech. But if they're going to compete, they've got to compete using that heritage rather than just technology and interesting style.
Yeah. I totally agree with you. Well, the final news story, which was pretty big for us here at electrifying.com, was the used electric car sales. So last week I was talking about new EV car sales. This week it was the turn of used EV sales, and they are for the first quarter of 2026. So these are official figures from the SMMT. Overall sales were flat. So that's we're talking about all used cars here. That's petrol, diesels, electrics, etc. It was a tiny 0.2% drop overall, so pretty much flat for the first quarter. But March's numbers will be the ones that cause eyebrows to raise, because sales were down more than 2%. And that is, you can attribute that to the fuel prices surging, petrol and especially diesel. But when it comes to EVs, second-hand EV sales were up almost a third. But that does have to be put into the context a little bit, because that is 87,000 sales out of 2 million used car sales. So it's still a little small. It's still a small proportion of used of used car transactions, but it still represents 1 in 23 sales between January to March. It's encouraging, no doubt, and I think it shows that in the world of EVs, well, EVs are becoming more popular and more appealing to customers as time moves on. Right. Speaking of moving on, let's move on then. I think I'll stop using the phrase "moving on," but let's move on to my favourite part of the Kilowatt half hour, which is, of course, Barnard's bargains. Tom, what has tickled your pickle this week?
Well, it's one that, since Vicky isn't on the podcast this week, it's her favourite car, so she won't witter on about it for hours. We are safe from that. It's the Volkswagen ID7, which occasionally pops up as a bit of a bargain in the lease deals, which I think normally means that Volkswagen's having trouble shifting them, but for no reason, because it's a great car, isn't it? It's the ID7. It's huge. So this one is a Match Pro Plus S, which sounds like one of those caffeine tablets you take when you're a student to keep you up when you need to revise. But I think that's fairly top spec, isn't it? That one, 86 kilowatt hour battery, £378 a month, which is really good. You know, you compare that to some of the other cars that are around that money, and it was like an Alpine A290. So this is a lot more car for the money, I think. If you want a used deal, there's a car that I had as a long-termer about 2 years ago, and I really liked it because it was just competent. Now, the only problem with it is that it's got a CHAdeMO plug on it. Mm-hmm. So if you do need to charge a lot when you're out, then it's a little bit of a pain because it's slow and you're limiting the amount of charging points. But if you're charging at home most of the time, which I thought it was really nice. And it's a Lexus UX, if you remember those.
Yes.
And it's this one, 2023, so not yet 3 years old, because it's a 72 plate. It's only got 6,500 miles on the clock, and it's 14,795. And you think about Lexus, if you keep the servicing, you've got a 10-year warranty.
Yeah,
it's really nice, isn't it? And they also came in my favourite colour of green. Do you remember that? This one is
black.
Yes, do you remember that?
Yes, yeah, I do
really
remember that.
Lovely colour.
Yeah, yeah. And that, you're right, it's a service activated warranty, isn't it? So that basically that means if you take the car to a Lexus dealership and get it serviced, they'll add an extra year onto that, up to a maximum of 10 years. So you've effectively got 10 years worth of cover. And also, I mean, let's be brutally honest, 10 years after that car has been registered, well, it's going to be 2033, that car is not going to be worth probably a huge amount of money, and yet you've got a warranty that still covers it. So it's quite extraordinary. I remember I had one just before Christmas for a week, and I was going to do something on it, and then I think the week after they axed it. So it was kind of a bit of a pointless press load. But I do remember it was really nice. Apart from a bit of wheel spin, I seem to remember, it had difficulty getting its power down. It was a really lovely and refined, comfortable car, and yet it's a car that everybody forgets about. You're absolutely right. So
yeah, I seem to remember the switchgear was a bit scattered about, but it just seemed like an eminently sensible thing. It wasn't exciting in any way, but I just thought, oh, this is really nice. I like it. So for if you look at 15 grand cars that are 3 years old and have that little mileage on them, then you're probably looking at some fairly mainstream stuff, and you could have a Lexus.
I know, very impressive. Yeah. Right. Well, thank you, Tom. And if anyone's interested in that particular Lexus, do head over to our used car listings on electrifying.com and check it out. So let's let's move on to the comments and questions that have come in over the course of this week. Lucas, can you let's start with you. I mean, we've had a bit of an interesting question come in from Revlon F, haven't we?
Yes, Revlon F has been in touch and says, I'm thinking of making my 2024 Kia Niro EV a permanent member of the family as my finance deal ends shortly. The car is great and has been totally reliable. I even like polishing the piano black trim every week or so, which is something I really cannot relate to, Mr. Revlon. We are a low mileage family and charge at home most of the time, so I live with the relatively slow charging speed on longer trips. Will I regret this? What are the long-term costs of EV ownership? Has technology moved on so much that I should consider something new instead? I would be very grateful of your thoughts.
Okay, interesting. Well, firstly, before I give my opinion on the dilemma, I think it's pretty clear that we're doing something wrong. Obviously, with piano black trim, you need to be polishing it every week, as opposed to us motoring journalists who are an untidy bunch and just like to moan about piano black trim instead. So perhaps that's where we're going wrong. I don't know. I mean, my initial feeling of this question is, it's only a 2-year-old car, and if you still really like it, just hang on to it. I mean, it's still a very competent car, the Niro EV. Again, that's another car that's kind of been put into the shadows a little bit in the past few years, what with the EV3 and newer electric cars. But the basic package still stacks up. What do you think, Tom?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's a great car, and if you like it, you get on with it, and you know it's reliable, then absolutely keep it. I mean, electric car technology is coming on in leaps and bounds, but at some point you have to say, well, I'm going to get on this now. I don't think it's progressed hugely from 2024, has it? It's not as if there's been suddenly batteries which have twice as much capacity or charge twice as fast. So I would absolutely keep that if you like it. I don't think it's going to change. There's nothing like CarPlay or one of those other things that makes a real difference to your ownership experience. So a Niro EV will have all that. So I'd keep it.
Spot on.
I suppose the only thing about longer term EV ownership, which a lot of people don't think about, is the EVED, which is going to cost people 3p a mile, isn't it, from next year?
Shit. Yeah, that is a very good point.
Yeah, so people just need to factor that into their running costs in future, I suppose. Is that, I mean, it's still going to be cheaper than running a petrol or diesel, especially at the moment. And just look at saving as much money as you can on things like electric car tariffs and charging in places like at work if you can.
Yeah,
but that's the only other thing I can think of that's going to cost him any money.
Yes, good point. Well made. Tom, what's popped into your post box this week?
So we've had an interesting counterpoint to the discussion we had last, which was about the CATL batteries with a 900-mile range. And we were kind of debating whether the batteries with long ranges were an improvement or whether we needed them. And I think we were saying that some people will need them because that's going to be excellent for them, whereas for most people, once they've got a home charger, they'll find that they don't really need a 900-mile range. But Stephen Muddell 1383 said he thinks it would be particularly handy for EV owners like me who cannot charge at home. Being a low mileage driver, one charge would last me 9 weeks, and I could pick and choose my charging moments when I'm near a cheaper one. Bring it on, I say. Which is an interesting thought, but the amount you save by going to a slightly cheaper charging point once in a while is very rarely going to make up for the fact that you're getting a battery which is twice the size you need it to be. I would say. You're spot on. It's a bit like towing behind a fuel tanker behind your diesel car because it means you can go to the Tesco rather than to the Shell. But all that time you're towing around a trailer with 100 litres of fuel in it. It seems Yeah,
Yeah.
I think the initial cost of the larger battery, as well as the more than likely weight penalty that you're going to be paying for lugging it around, as you say, Tom, is not really going to be offset by the fact you can charge for a few pence less. Granted, we keep saying the way to drive an EV cheaply is to be able to charge at home. And yeah, if you can't do that, then that's, all by the by. But I don't know if necessarily piling on the kilowatt hours is necessarily going to net you that much of a benefit.
Yeah, it is an interesting topic, and it's one I hadn't really thought about much in the past. But I mean, we've had a lot of comments about this actually over the past week. A lot of people have been writing in. One that did catch my eye was from Pfeiffer Chris, who said, "Wouldn't this make EVs a better proposition for those who tow caravans?" Well, I mean, as I am a very proud Tow Car of the Year judge, I am in total agreement on this. I mean, I think the combination of larger batteries to combat the loss in efficiency when you're towing, plus having roadside charging bays that are long enough for you to charge without unhitching your caravan or trailer, they are the solutions for people who tow with an EV. But as we know, that's cars with massive batteries are not going to be cheap, and it's going to take a long time for roadside services to all have charging bays that are long enough for you to charge your electric car whilst being hitched up. So yes, I think larger batteries, a 900-mile range battery, probably is the solution to your towing woes, but it's going to be a long time. We're going to be waiting a long time for this, I think. So
do they have charge points at campsites, Batch?
Some do, yes, and it's something that's very much in its infancy. Because of course you do have to have a proper charging point. This is one of the sort of the kind of the fallacies, is that you do have to have a proper charging point. You can't just plug in your electric car into the same charging points which you plug into your motorhome to power the fridge and all the electrics inside the caravan or the motorhome. So you do have to have a dedicated charging point. I have seen a few of them spring up actually, particularly in the Cornwall and Devon area, so those very typical holiday destinations. But yeah, it's I wouldn't say it's nationwide yet, and it is something that does need to sort of speed up a little bit, I think.
I fused a campsite once by plugging in my Leaf in very early days, knocked out, which I was quite surprised about. I had a small discussion with the campsite owner about my antics, but yeah, they only take 2.5 kilowatt, but apparently it was the extended length of time that it was trying to take 2.5 kilowatts was the issue. I wasn't terribly popular.
You can understand the slow rollout for campsite EV charging points, at least, right? Because I imagine most of them are pretty rural and quite far out of the way, quite far from your local motorway at the very least. So it's going to be difficult to fit that infrastructure there, at least much more so than it would be in a city or along a major thoroughfare. So all in good time, but good things come to those who wait.
Yeah.
Well, I suppose even if you've got like 3.6 kilowatts, it's going to be all right, isn't it? I mean, because you're going to be, it's not as if you're going to need a rapid charge, because you're going to be there for a weekend at least, aren't you? So roll up in your with your caravan, take the caravan off, go and park the car over by a charger, plug it in, and as long as it's ready 2 days later, you'd be quite happy.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, it is the definition of destination charging, really, isn't it? Yeah, and I'm all for that. I don't like the thought, Tom, that you're getting an ear bashing from a campsite owner because they've had a complaint from Mavis in her caravan who can't watch Midsummer Murders because you've drained all the electricity from the site. So but anyway, right, okay, let's move on to some of the comments on YouTube that have been coming in this week. Firstly, it's one that's been aimed at me, so I should probably address this one. This is John T60. He said, and this is in reference to my Aeon V. This is in reference to the podcast that we recorded last week, where I was talking about the Genesis GV60, and I inadvertently said, when you switch on the ignition, the glass ball rotates as the gear lever. Of course, John T60 recognised the fact that electric cars don't have ignitions. I am very sorry, John T60. It is just a force of habit. We've all been driving petrol cars for a very long time, and it is one of those phrases that is still in my head, I'm afraid. So apologies on that.
There must be others. There must be others
Karen.
like throttle, I suppose. Throttle,
Yes.
that would be...
yeah, true. There are other layovers. I mean, what would you call it if not an ignition switch anyway? Is it just an on button at that point?
I think it probably
power on, I
is.
suppose.
Yeah. But
I've never
because
really thought about it. I mean, why is it an ignition switch on a petrol? Because you're igniting the petrol to start the combustion process?
I suppose so. I guess if you had an ignition in an EV, something's gone desperately wrong.
Yes. I don't know. It just slipped in what I was saying, I'm afraid. So huge apologies, point taken, and I won't ever say it again. Okay, my wrists have been well and truly slapped. So, Lucas, now we were talking about this on the podcast last week. We had a couple of comments about your presenting style in your Vauxhall Corsa GSE video. Samala Crum said, bro should be narrating nature documentaries. And at Bevolution UK, or BEVolution, said, up there with Morgan Freeman. Because you are a guest on this week's podcast, Lucas, I thought it was only fair and proper that you had a right of reply.
Well, firstly, there were quite a few very kind comments, let's put it that way. Some of them bordering on flirtatious, but hey, I'll take what I can get. So thank you for that too. But Morgan Freeman is a very, very tall order. I don't think I'm anywhere quite so close to him yet. And when you said comments about my presenting style, I'd worried that I'd annoyed somebody. So this is a very pleasant surprise, though. I won't lie. I have read all of your comments. So thank you very much. But yeah, no, it's just nice to have such a warm welcome, to be honest. Though I'm sure the folks over at Vauxhall were perhaps a little bit annoyed that people tended to focus more so on my voice than the car I was discussing. But I'm sure that's all by the by. In any case, it's been very kind.
They'll have you on to be the sat-nav voice or something, won't they? They'll notice. They'll have you.
Well, if anybody would like me to narrate anything for them, then do give me a shout. I probably shouldn't be soliciting business on a work call, but alas, here we are. And if you can afford my retainer, then I might just narrate your life.
Could you just say turn left, take the third exit?
In 100 yards, turn right.
That's very good. Yeah.
Take the third exit at the roundabout.
I fear we stumbled across Lucas's OnlyFans page here, so I think we need to move on fast.
All right, well, a U-turn.
On the subject of sounding or looking like famous people, there's this comment from your Aeon V batch. So Bricktop 7803 said, "You look like Richard Batchelor, a well-liked geologist." Now, is he your twin or something, Richard Batchelor? I mean, the same surname.
No, I mean, I was very intrigued by this comment. I saw it too, and I immediately Googled Richard Batchelor, geologist. And I mean, as good looking as Richard Batchelor is, and if you are listening, Richard, please do feel free to come on one day. It might be quite interesting to hear your views on electric cars. I don't know, assuming you have any. But as good looking as he is, there is quite an age difference. So I can only assume that Bricktop 7803 has been watching my video in 240p definition.
Well,
so
I also Googled him. I also Googled him, Batch, and came across an obituary. So,
oh gosh,
I'm not sure if it's the same one.
Crikey!
Maybe he is. Maybe that one's listening as well. From up above?
Well, on that rather spiritual note, I think it's probably time to end. I mean, we've only just gone over the half hour, so I'm pretty proud of that because this is my first time hosting the podcast. I was worried we'd be knocking on the door of an hour, but we haven't. So thank you very much, the pair of you. Thank you for being kind to me. And hopefully all of you listeners and viewers have been enjoying this particular edition of the Kilowatt Half Hour. Of course, you can find out a lot more about the stories we've chatted about and a lot more besides on our website. But until then, goodbye.
Goodbye.
It's all right.